Boom, welcome back. Episode 52 of the TNEC cast. So that makes like a year's worth of episodes now. That's 52.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
I'm your man Shuff with the man, the weapon K. And like I always say, we are the TNEC cast. Get the housekeeping out of the way. Like, comment, subscribe. Please, 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 please. We appreciate it. We appreciate all the feedback we've been getting. And before we see how the weapon is doing, if you notice that number, we are into the triple digits. We have hit 103 registered athletes for the Dallas Showdown Classic. So we are very, very excited about that. First show that TNEC is putting on is doing some great numbers. So we appreciate everybody that's registered with us, and we're gonna put a great show on for you in June. And Mr. Weapon K, how you feeling, brother?
I'm alive. I'm chilling, man. Hey, God is great. I woke up this morning. I saw the record for an NFF show. It was one. You want to talk about it? Can I say it?
You can say
it. Do I have permission? You can tell me no, and I'll just.
No. You can say it. Once Larry made it public, I was cool. I was like, all right, cool.
It was 136. Mm-hmm. And you kind of if you really know how bodybuilding. I haven't even registered for my shows. You know what I mean? Because life happens. Yep. So. Can I anticipate, the last 6 weeks, anyone 20, 30 people jumping in that show? Very likely.
Oh, yeah.
Very likely. But today, we are going to be talking about program design. We're going to be talking about how we create our own programs or programs for other people based on their needs. I did a little video on it on our Patreon, so link is going to be in the description if you want to support the channel. And also thank you for everyone that is supporting us through Patreon, greatly appreciated. But we're going to be talking about the rep and set design, how we build up on volume, how we bring down volume depending on which phase you're in. Intensifiers, is it needed, is it necessary, and also exercise selection, and various different intricacies to go with that. So Isaac, go ahead, brother.
All right, so I love all of our topics, so I don't want to deal too much in hyperbole, but of these things being in my wheelhouse, this is what I do every day, programming, and I love it. So I'm going to take some of the obvious things out. You have to know the person's goals. We got to assume that you know that. So we'll take that part out. So when you're truly building a program, whether it's for yourself or somebody else, the big thing is you got to figure out how often they can commit to the gym. So now when it's a bodybuilder, it's got to be 5-6 days. Not saying you can't do it in less, but pretty much, you're putting yourself way behind the 8 ball if you're trying to, only work out 4 days a week. That's just, look, there may be your program, whatever. I'm not going to, and this is not no funny stuff. I'm not trying to you are just being real. You're putting yourself behind the 8 ball unless you are somebody that's very, very experienced and you've been doing it for a long time in your body. You kind of go intense, take a day off, go intense, take a day off kind of deal, which, hey, that's part of programming.
Yes, it works.
But that would typically for a bodybuilder would be 5 to 6 days a week. And then now when you're on the other side, athlete, not a bodybuilder, just a regular athlete, it could be anywhere from a lifting standpoint from 3 days to 6 days, depending on your sport. And then, lifestyle, trying to, just be in better shape. Again, anywhere from 3. I really try to stay away from 6 unless it's somebody that's, really just a grinder, 3 to 5 days a week. So that's the number one thing. And this is why it's important, when you're really trying to get in this, get with a coach because they'll be able to help you laser focus. Because everybody, when they get started, they say, oh, I want to do 6 days a week. And I used to be that coach that let people do 5 and 6 days a week that I should not, because they weren't ready for that. They couldn't commit to that much time to the gym. And what would happen is, so they had 5 workouts on their schedule, they'd be hitting 2 or 3, and then they get discouraged and they quit. Whereas if you build up and you say, okay, let's start with 3 days a week, we'll give you one very good push, pull legs. And let me tell you something, that will take you very far.
Yeah.
It will take you very far, so we just do that. Or even if it's 3 days, you can just do a cycle of a total body push and a total body pull, because you can throw leg movements into the push and pull cycle. So I'm kind of throwing a lot at you guys just to show you need to understand how many days a week you can commit to the gym. So you have to be honest with your coach when you say that. And then if you're doing it yourself, you have to be honest with yourself. Don't say, because this is what happens. Everybody's so psyched up, gung ho, I'm going to do 5 days, and then you don't. Then you end up only doing your push days, or you end up only doing your chest days, and then it just creates a cavalcade of issues for you, and then we don't want to we don't want to see that. So that's number one, trying to figuring out that. Then number two, it's your targeting, understanding your body. Are you top heavy? Are you back heavy? Are you just figuring out your body, and again going along with the obvious with your goals. So this way you can't okay, you can do a push pull, and then you throw in a specific movement, a specific body part that you can throw in a back day, a shoulder day, a bicep day, a lot of different things, for the ladies, glute day, you can throw those different things in there into your program. The one thing I'll say before I jump over to Kay, you want to make sure that you are not doing straight up bro science, because it works for the newbie gains. Like when you first get started, just for the fact that you started doing something, your body's going to respond, but the reason why we talk about things like push pull and legs, rear chain, anterior, things like that, because you are working multiple muscle groups in a session. So, because if you're only hitting your biceps, or if you're only hitting your back once a week, you're not going to get the same amount of progress as if you are mixing it up, hitting each body part at least twice a week. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. So because you're doing only 2 or 3 bicep specific exercises in your pull, but then you're doing pull 2 times a week. So this is where you get a little, we can call it volume, but this is where you actually get more out of your workouts than if you just go, I'm going to do biceps today, I'm going to do chest for the 5th time this week, and doing all that. That's how you end up looking lopsided, and you're not happy with your training. So okay, take us through, like, when you're setting up your programming, like, what are some of the things that what takes through the mindset when you're setting it up, and then take us through any adjustments that you make, and what triggers an adjustment, and what kind of adjustments you make.
So fatigue, that's a big one. Total work volume throughout the week. And let's say like life in general, right? So let's say me in the dorms in Japan, I could get away with 7 days a week in the gym because I'm sleeping 10 hours and I'm just going home, eat, sleep, work, gym. That's it. Now with a newborn, sleep is kind of hindered. I'm sleeping, but I'm not sleeping. You know what I mean? I'm not in that deep REM sleep. So I take that into account whenever I'm doing my volume, right? Then the total working volume, let's say I look at my chest, right? I'm doing, let's say 12 working sets a week. And I'm like, okay, how do I want to split this up? Do I want to split this up? Is it important for me to split it up here? You know what I mean? That's why I go down the checklist and being like, okay, do I need to separate it in 2 separate sessions? Because let's be honest, and this is why I disagree with the bro split, but hey, I mean, it's a healthy disagreement, because if you get results from it, send it. Keep going, brother. Hey, I hope you end up like Ronnie, bro. But let's say like chest, for example. After my 4th working set on my push day, my chest is done. I can't sustain that for 12. Now, if you do a different like RIR approach, and you keep it a little bit lower, then sure, you can keep those sets. But then my argument is like, are you actually getting those effective reps? Are you really squeezing out the rag in your sessions?
So okay, real quick, because you touched on something, and I think this is good for. I hope people stuck around to get to this part. So you said, you talked about having your 12 for the week. Mm-hmm. How do you come up with that number, and why? Because that's interesting, and I really like it. I've actually never thought about it like that. Thinking about, okay, I have X amount for the week. Dive a little more into that.
So let's say I have a push-pull legs, right? I'm in the gym 6 days a week. This is an example. I'll do 2 working sets on each chest movement. So it's 6 and then 6. See how I adjust, see the progress, see how I recover, and then see what happens. So recently, Kyle was like, "Hey, let's add in a set on the incline press and stuff like that." And I did, and I am trashed. Like I just can't do it. So it's just like, okay, I bumped up from 12 to 14, and I am done. Right? And it's just like, okay, maybe. And now you also have to think about where you put the set. My incline press is my first movement. Do I want to actually put the extra set there so it hinders everywhere else where I can have progress, or would I want to add the set at the pec fly, my last chest movement, instead of the first exercise, and especially the most fatiguing exercise? So that's kind of how I split it up, and I basically go like I throw shit at a wall and see what sticks. Right? If someone can do 20 sets or a week, then it's like good, go, see what happens, and then you make the adjustments. So that's how I come up with that number.
So you touched on another one. This is great stuff. So you were talking about the order of exercises, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of those people. If I have it on my workout and perfect scenario where I can get where we can get through and do it in the order that's on there, we try to do that. What triggers you, because you just kind of talked about a trigger, what triggers you to say, okay, let me move this around? Or do you how like talk a little bit more about that?
More so about output, right? So for a chest day, I would go incline, flat, pec fly, just because I need to focus on my chest, right? Mm-hmm. And then no, actually, let's go my secondary chest push day. It goes high incline, which is like that upper, clavicular muscles in your front delts, into a flat press, into lateral raises, into an overhead extension, because you can do more weight on the overhead extension than a tricep push down, and then straight into a tricep push down. So it's all like on my secondary push day, it's like all output. How much load can I front end? So on the back end, whenever I am dead tired, you just be like, you kind of see that whenever it's like calves, right? It's just like, I'm tired, dog. I don't want to do this. Mentally you're drained. So imagine you just reverse it, which I know Joe Bennett kind of does in some of his programs. I just find it more optimal if I just knock out the compounds first.
Yep, that's mine. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And then like on leg days, I do have leg extensions first.
Interesting. Okay.
Just because like me personally, my knee, like my left knee, it hurts if I just straight out the gate squat. Because like, as soon as I get in the hole, it's done. Like I'm just like, bro, like it's too much pain enough not to get you out the zone. You see what I'm saying? So what about you? How do you structure where you put the exercises?
So I do it two ways. So I do put the compounds first. That's a big thing. And I tell people there's a lot of different reasons to do it, but I use a very real life reason. If you have to, I got 4 kids, you gotta, there's things that'll pop up on you. So if you get to the gym and you do have to leave, for an emergency, I'd rather you get 2 or 3 compound exercises in versus 2 or 3 accessory secondary moves.
I didn't think about that.
So that's my number one thing. Like, so if you have to cut a workout short, or look, you just running around, just how I text you, hey, I'm running a little bit behind, for this, and you have to cut because of whatever reason, it's easier. You get more, you get more out of it. And then the second thing that I do, I try to make it. Now this is for myself and when I'm programming for our teammates and clients and everything like that. I try to keep you around the same thing, so you're not bouncing around the gym too much. So for example, if you need a flat, you need a bench, period. Like whether it's adjustable or flat, I try to keep you there. So then that way you can do your 2, 3, 4, even 4 exercises, then go on to the next, because you're halfway through your set of something, through your set of something. Excuse me, and then you look over to try because you know where you got to go next, and you say, and that could take you a little bit off of your focus. So the first 2 things that I keep are practicality. So now inside of that practicality, now it's like, okay, what are we going to do? I think about fatigue factors. I think about output. So basically, now I go very old school, compound, secondary, accessory. That's the way, I look at it. And then for those of you that, don't know what that means. So if we're talking about, for example, chest, so one of your compounds, you're going to be, bench press, incline press. A secondary movement will be more like a fly. And then a more accessory movement will be like if you're trying to isolate. So if you're doing like cable crossovers, the different variations of that. So that's the way I kind of do it. But the same thing with the cables. If you're on the cables, I try to keep you there. So like, for example, on a push day, it'll be cable crossover, then like a cable front raise, then try like you do them all right there. So that's what I try to do. And then another thing I try to do when it's a push day, I try to oh man, I just lost it. Hold on a second. I was thinking, I talked about it and it sparked it, and as soon as it sparked, that shit. That crap. Now we're tied. Went right away. Oh man. Oh, so what I'll do sometimes, like on a push day, I'll have it go chest, shoulders, triceps, chest, shoulders, triceps. I don't always do that, but I do that. So that way where your chest is, dominant on the movement, give it a chance to kind of rest, and then bam, we're going to hit it again. Same thing with your shoulder, just give it. So there's so many, because there's not one right way. That's the beautiful thing of this. And then even when, Kyrie and I are talking, you see like, hey, I've never thought about that. Yeah. Let me see how that works for me.
So, quick question. Let me cut you off real quick because it's actually funny. I cut out front raises completely out of my program. I will never do a front raise ever again in my life. Okay, I'm being facetious, but why I cut out the front raise, and it's because whenever I was studying, I realized like a lot of pressing movements, your front delts is activated. Mm-hmm. Right, so that's why I press a lot rather than just do direct front delt movements. And maybe because I want to say shoulder dominant because my shoulders kind of suck. But like I don't know. Maybe I'm not fully activating my chest, but I do want to see like because that goes into weekly volume, right? Is because whenever it's like okay, front delt. How many front delt exercises am I doing? I count my incline and I count my my flat, but I wouldn't do that for triceps, even though it's activated. You know what I mean? Because it's a compound movement. I would just count straight set triceps more so a tricep as a tricep working set. Have you ever thought about that, or do you just count like front delt like actual like target work as a working set?
I more go when it's the target. So I keep it in mind, so on a push day, regardless. So taking front delt, a more front delt directed move out, you're still hitting your front delts. So now this is kind of where it comes down to. Now we're going to kind of cross over to the bodybuilding world a little bit. Are you shoulder dominant? What do you need to improve upon? That kind of plays a role. So I know when I'm leaner, like so right now I got really. It's not that I lose my shoulders, but it changes. So one of the things that happened was actually at my front, because my front delts and my upper chest were a problem my first season. Fixed that. Then not that my rear delts became a problem, but the way my back is, it made my rear delts look small. So now we're bringing in some symmetry. So this is when we're talking about programming and understanding. Look, nobody's physique is perfect. Understand that. So when you have to get obsessed with getting better, because now you don't take it. If somebody tells you, oh, you need to work on it, you don't take it. Like, oh no, I've been working. Cry in the corner. You're like, oh, okay, I get it. So back to your point, I'm looking for so something like when it comes to to the anterior and to the rear, I'm looking at how am I hitting it directly first, and then secondarily, because like all the pressing movements you're hitting, regardless if you're trying to hit your shoulders or not, you're always going to activate some part. So my big thing with doing when I do the front raises and I do anything for more specifically for the front delts, it's a lot about my angles. So I don't always do like a straight front raise. Sometimes I do a hammer grip one. Sometimes I'll do a reverse grip one just to change that angle just a little bit, just because you know how it is where we are now. You try and get those little bit of details and these little, okay, can I make this muscle that stops here? Does it have the genetic to go there? You know, all those, you know, different little things. So I go more for the direct, then I'll go for where, you know, where it's secondary, how I'm looking at it, just because then again, you hit another thing. If you're shoulder dominant, you have to be careful, because now you could have improved your chest, but now your shoulders got too big. So now you still lost that symmetry where you have a chest that you can look at the picture. Okay, my chest is better. However, like you look at the measurements, all the numbers are there to say you did what you were supposed to do, but you did too much shoulder work. So now your front delts are still overpowering and making your chest look like it's caving in. That's something we see a lot, you know. So that's where, you know. And then this conversation. So this has been a great freaking episode. This is what, you know. You need to have with your coach, if you have a coach, kind of talk about that, because the thing is, you want to understand before if your coach can't explain to you why they're changing something up.
One thing that I want to add to that, because I 1000% agree. You need to be a student to the craft. And I'm just talking to the competitors out here. You need to know what you're doing, and you also need to know if your coach is a bozo. You see what I'm saying? So if your coach says, hey, do a underhand tricep, overhand tricep, neutral grip tricep, overhead tricep, you're going to get to a point where it's just like, bro, aren't we doing the same movement over and over and over and over again? You see what I'm saying? So this is where you need to know and study the craft. Look at the studies. Look at the anecdotal evidence. Look at the bro science. See what you can apply and test it relentlessly. Track your workouts. Measure your arms. Measure your calves. Measure everything. Because this is your career. If you want to make it your career, well, you might as well just give it your all, dog. You here, you suffering. You might as well give it your all. And don't leave anything up to chance.
Bingo, because the more you leave to chance, you gotta know, because like, so the deeper you get into this sport, you really see it's a brother and sisterhood, because when you go backstage, something I always talk about, you can tell who dieted and who didn't. That's the first thing you can tell. That's the first thing. And you could tell all the people, unless they're on the same team, all the people that dieted real hard and that looked great, they tend to migrate towards each other. You know what they're doing? They're not complaining. They're not talking about what they want to eat. They're talking about, how do I get better? Hey man, I see, like, you. It's just see why Kyrie, see why he's not, because he knows what I'm talking. You go. It's the. I shouldn't say by now. I shouldn't say, but it's the weirdest thing. And then you see the other people that are over there. Oh man, I can't. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, what are you talking about? You was eating that. You
2 weeks out.
What you worried about? You know what I'm saying? But you know, I say that to say, like, that's why I just don't leave stuff up to chance. You know what I mean? Because that's, man, you do work too hard. You know, even people that are, you know, that have more in the tank, or I'll be nice, you know, say they got more in the tank. You still did work pretty hard. You did still say no at least 75% of the time. You know, and that takes a lot. So that's where, you know, what we're talking about with this programming stuff. Your programming is important. So speaking of that, the other thing, understand that outside of the progressive overload, i.e. you do a little bit more weight next week, you might add a set the next week, you know, things like that, your workouts should not be truly changing every week. If they are, there needs to be a reason. For example, I can't say the program, but there's a program that I've designed, because it's a hard area to activate. You still work that same body part the same day. The same time in the schedule. However, what I do is I have it alternating the exercise. So it's like I think it's like a 6 or 7 exercise workout. The first 3 or 4 exercises stay the same, but then those 3 or 4 at the bottom part, they switch every day. They alternate just to get a little bit of different activation. But there's a reason. See, I can explain it. Hey, I'm trying to get, different activation. But when you put the exercises side by side, they're actually very similar, just 2 different, an angle, trying to hit the same part. So I say that to say, if you're on one of these programs where they got you doing all this craziness and you're wondering why you don't get results is because you're not, you have to, great programming is boring.
It's monotonous.
It's just, you just gotta keep, it's just because I tell you, you gotta get, like, I can go, well, coach, I want to go to, I want to do this. I'm like, man, you haven't, I hate to use the word mastered, but you haven't even got out of, you're still in 101. You haven't even got to 102, let alone the 200 level classes, 300 level classes, 400 level classes, college speak right now. So, if you're still in 101, and 101 is what takes the longest. That once you get out of 101, you start moving pretty quickly because now you've got the foundation, you're getting stronger, you're understanding things, and now everything is, is firing. But you got to take that time to be in 101. I didn't take the time to be in 101. I'll tell you straight up and down. I spent a long time, because I'm 13 years older than Kyrie. I spent a long time doing stuff the wrong way. That's why my shoulder is messed up. It's to the point where unless I get surgery, there's just a certain amount of load I can do, not because it's too heavy. It's just because from doing bench press wrong, bouncing off my chest and just trying to, ego lift and all that stuff messed up my shoulder. You see what I'm saying? So now, it's my mission to get people that are newer to the gym, newer to weightlifting, to understand, like, hey, you got to get these basics down. Yeah, I know it's boring. Yeah, I know you want to do this, you want to do that. Get these basics down, because if you can do that for 6 months to a year, I'm trying to tell you, because then you'll see, because like, so for example, when Kyrie and I worked out at Destination Dallas a few months ago, we didn't do anything special.
Not at all.
We just, it was special that we got to work out together. Other than that, we were doing basic ass stuff and it was fun. You know what I mean? Like, just, okay, we're going to do this. We just alternated picking exercises. But I want y'all to know this, especially, our either newer competitors or people are newer to the gym. Stop being obsessed with change. It's because really bodybuilding is just a lot of little bit. It's a lot of small changes here and there, tweaks here and there. Like there's certain exercises, your squats, your bench press, your overhead press, there's certain things that aren't going away. You might do a variation, but they're not going away. Don't get caught up in social media or you see these people at the gym doing all this crazy stuff. Don't get caught up in that. Stay within your realm and understand that you want to get better. Like ask people. You see somebody that looks similar to the way you look, ask them. Because I will tell you this, and I go to a lot of gyms. It's the people that are doing the basics 9 times out of 10 that look the best from a physique standpoint. 9 times out of 10.
I can concur that. I can definitely concur that one, man. So I have 3 more points. We're about 28 minutes deep. So we're going to be talking about how do you design the sets and the reps personally for you. Not for a client, but strictly just for you.
So I'm in really, really, even still when I haven't ran or anything like that, I'm in really good shape. So it takes me a little bit more to fatigue. So I'm more of a volume person. So I am one of those people that's good with 5, 6, sets. Rep wise, I've become a lot smarter because I'm a lot better with tempo. So 15 is usually my max, depending on my max, but but 12 is really like if you just look at 12 is the average max, but 15, like I really don't do much over 15 unless it's like some kind of burnout or, something like that. So, for me, I want to make sure that I'm doing enough that the back half I'm working, i.e., most exercises, the first couple of reps feel pretty good. You're like, oh man, I could do this all day. Shout out to Captain America, but then, the halfway I'm like, okay. And then I don't want to be, having to pray, the last couple of reps, but I want to, if I'm by myself, I want to know, okay, where's another strong person?
Where's Jesus?
It's always like, where's another strong person I can give a look? But yeah, I just want to do the. I mean, at the end of the day, I know my goals. I know what I'm trying to do. So I'm looking at muscle stimulus, and you can and every exercise is a little bit different. So, for example, flies, I feel like you need more sets. I mean, excuse me. Well, no, not just more sets, but more reps to get good stimulus with those. So you do things like a bench press. If you're doing it correctly, like you do the right load and the right form and everything like that, you don't need a bunch of sets. Like I literally today, so I'm doing my push day. I saw this guy. I got at least 4 exercises in. All of them were a minimum 4 sets, and he was still on the bench.
Was he Twitter fingers?
No, I mean I didn't really see him on the phone much, but he was just on the bench. I'm just like, and I remember like, look, when I was in college, I'd be on the bench for a long time. I'm not even going front. Like I'd be there. And then granted, a few of us working it, everything like that. But the bench was like the center of everything. It was like we just want the bench and everything like that. But I saw that and I was just like, man, I'm sitting there, running through. So it's about that stimulus and understanding what moves you might need a little bit more on and what moves you don't need quite as much on. That's what I've realized because that's unique to everybody. Yeah. Your compound movements should take more out of you. Look at you, like most of us have a Fitbit, Apple Watch, something like that. Watch your heart rate. Watch your heart rate so that's a good way to understand how hard you're working. If your resting heart rate is 85 and your working heart rate is 95, you probably can push a little bit harder, especially on the compound movement. Like all my compound movements, I'm 120 or above because I'm pushing, so I know I look, and check it out. So that I would probably say number one is muscle stimulus because even when we're in prep, we're trying to stimulate the muscle because we want it to stay.
So do you adjust your sets and reps according, like, do you just say, hey, we're going to do more? Or you can be like, hey, we're going to do a little bit less?
So I try to, so my first adjustment is always like, how much weight can I do? And this is funny because like I always tell people, hey, your first thing shouldn't be weight, but but my first thing is like, okay, so I'm doing 4 sets of 12, right? I might be because people don't realize you could be doing something at 4 sets of 12. And if you go up just a little bit, that 4 sets of 12 turns into 4 sets of 8. Yeah. It could be that much of a difference. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. I was like, okay, so if I go up in weight, because that's the easiest way to add the intensity, do I need to go up in weight? So I might make, man, I'm kind of at, or if I'm at a gym, for example, where I go, they only have 100-pound dumbbells. So now it already gives me, I can't go up in weight. So I was like, okay, I got to add another set. That's what I'll do to kind of look to say, okay, how am I going to, get more intensity, get more out of this? Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing, and so then, when I'm in prep, I'll sneak in. Like I might have 5 sets on there. If I don't feel like I got everything I needed out of that, I'll add an extra set on there. Instead of going up in weight, I'll add that extra set to kind of help give me a little more burn, get a little more out of it.
What about intensifiers? Do you once again take them away whenever you're like deep in prep, or do you add them whenever you're deep in prep just to get a little bit more workload?
That's a good question. So it really depends on what because this. There's points of prep where it feels like you're going to end up weighing 100 pounds because you're like, man, my body's just getting rid of everything. Yeah. And then there's points of preps where 4 weeks, the scale doesn't move. I mean, the pictures might move, but the scale doesn't move. You're like, what have I done wrong? So it really depends on where I am. I would never say that I'm going to take them away. I'm going to go back. I'm going to use DJ as an example. We're talking about, my programming. Like, you may feel like you can go up in weight, but you want to be safe. You don't want to get hurt. So I may, add in, turn something, go with a lower weight and do a drop set. Go with a lower weight, do burnouts. Just different things to increase the stimulus. Whereas an intensifier, always a great one because you can do it with low weight is to modify your tempo. Because you'll see these big giant guys that are like, Kyrie and I combined, and they're like doing stuff for like 20 and 25 pounds. And you're like, at first I was like, man, that was that big dude doing with that. And that's when I thought certain things, like I was like, man, you just can just do one curl and all of a sudden you're going, blow up. But I realized it was their tempo. Mm. So they were like, what they were doing was they were going basically dead slow to really intensify the workout, intensify that muscle stimulus. Because now that time under tension, goes from, 45 seconds, you can double it. You know what I mean, by going slower. So if you take your curls, you're doing your 4 sets. In between all those 4 sets, the actual time under tension for your muscles only 45 seconds, just as an example. But now that you changed the tempo, you basically doubled your workload just by changing the tempo, because now you go from 45 seconds to a minute and a half for your time under tension. So I hate to not be able to answer the question directly. It just really depends on kind of what's going on.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you're stalling, add an intensifier. That might be what, I won't say what you need, but that because something to help, get the backlog out of there.
So for me personally, going straight from the top, how you have the reps and sets designed, I have it like I keep it writing. Let's say if it's going from prep to off season, so we're growing now. I start low and build up.
Yep.
Right. So I'll start 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, and then I'll add in, one, just set out chest fly. You know what I mean? One set here. Very, very, let's see if I can do low stimulus first. How am I reacting? Okay, I'm doing great. Let me add one to squat. Let's see what happens. Is my knee going to blow out? I don't know. Let's find out. And keep going. Okay, I can't recover from this. Okay, back down. And see where the food takes us, because that's going to be the primary driver. See where my recovery is. And then vice versa for prep. I just bring it down. Intensifiers, like I plan on not doing a single intensifier for the rest of prep. Just because, just like, okay, how far can I take this? So my methodology whenever it comes to training is, how far can I take this one set? How can I master this one single set? How can I wring out everything in just one set? Okay. And then it's the same thing for the next one. How can I wring out everything in this one set? And I have a training partner too, and he keeps me honest. He's like, hey, man, you went too fast, not negative, man. Slow it down. And it's like, okay, cool. I slow it down. And we try to aim for that, the 1 up, 2, 3 down in regards to tempo. And that's something I do need to brush up on. It's just like, look on some research on like tempo work. Because like I've really never thought about that. Being like, yeah, just change your tempo. It could change the weight. And it's like, yes, you can, right? Just I can take 315, just bounce it off my chest easily. But it's really not active. You know what I mean? It's not that the load isn't on my chest. So what's the point? And back to everything else. It's like my reps, it's between, let's say, 6 to 15. And I rarely hit 15. And 6 is the lowest I'll go, the heaviest I'll go. Right? I usually go up to like 12, 13. I'm like, all right, it's time to go up. I rarely touch that 15. And just because it's just like 35 to 80% of your 1 rep max, you can get gains. Right? Regardless of anything. So it's like 6 to 30. That's the hypertrophy range right there.
Right.
You can do anything. However, you get too high, especially in prep. Yes, your cardiovascular health, it can be a limiting factor at that point. Fat boys like me right now, just like I can't do sets of 20, 30. You know what I mean? I just can't. And 2, the fatigue that you get from doing sets of 20, 30 perfect reps. I'm not saying just do 20, 30 reps. Perfect reps.
That's a point right there.
I don't have the tools to do that just yet. Right?
Well, no, because I saw somebody on their program and they were doing like, I can't remember the amount of sets, but I know the reps were 25 on the leg press. And I know it was at least 4.
And that's the thing. It's just like, if it works, send it.
Oh, no.
No, send it.
See the
that's
person.
The thing. And that's what I love about this, dog. And that's what I love about this. Because, like, you cannot dispute results.
Agreed.
It's just like, you can't talk shit. It's like, I cannot talk trash about this person because they're winning. You know what I mean? And I just look like a hater. As long as you're winning, hey, man. But then again, it gets to this thing where it's just like, okay, if you stop being a student of the game, that won't last forever.
Yep. Yeah, and that's why. So what I saw was not somebody of a caliber, And
Of course
I
not.
could, yeah. So you see it, and you're just like, yo, do you understand? You're not doing anything.
Just keep
Like it's
doing
just one
it.
of the things. It's one of the, it's one of those things. Like, what's the point? Because you just hit something monumental. How many things can you do 25 perfect reps? Or what we call, 10 out of 10, whatever you want to call it. Like
With an effective load. You know what I mean? Yes,
there
you can do it with a
yeah.
pink dumbbell. I can do this all day. But with an
Yeah,
effective load?
that's because honestly, if you're being real, especially when you're in the deep waters of prep, asking for 12 perfect reps might be almost too much.
Because you're sitting down for like 45 seconds.
I mean,
Like 30, 45 seconds. You add in 12 more reps? You're sitting there for a minute. What are you doing there?
like that's something that people don't like. You hit, man. But that's just asking a lot. And somehow that's only 12 I do. I'm like, no, we're talking about time under 10. Like you're doing everything to the, like if you gotta, you're gonna get graded on it, kind of deal. Like not just, and that's a great point. That's a great point. I didn't think about that till you said that. That's a great point.
And that's all I got. Because we're 40 minutes, dog.
This is a good one. Hey, everybody's in prep now, so these people, these shows coming up for about 40 minutes of cardio is about right for some of you. So,
Yep.
So, only thing I gotta say is, man, if you have a coach, have them explain to you your programming and why you're doing what you're doing. And it's not that you're questioning them. You need to understand it. So this way you can give them better feedback about your programming. So that way the adjustments can be properly made for you. But other than that, like, comment, subscribe, tune in, sign up for TNEC on demand. We have a lot of different things going on. Kyrie's going to have the link down there. We have a lot of things that are going to be going on with that. We've already, since we've changed the platform from basically an email based to this, we've already, it's been amazing. So we want to get people tuned in and tapped in with that. But other than that, like, comment, subscribe, and that's all I got to say.
One thing that I learned so far in 2022 is never stop being a student. Never stop learning. Because like you said, people get to 101, they graduate, and they're like, I got the fundamentals, I got this. Ain't nobody going to tell me nothing. It's like, whoa. Keep going. Yep. Honor the craft, man. You have to honor the craft. You have to know what you're doing, especially if you want to take this thing seriously. You have nothing to lose. Go watch a training video. They're going to drop some gems on you, I promise. Watch Nick Walker. Watch Brett Wilkin. Watch the best of the best. Learn from trainers. Learn from coaches. Invest in your craft. Go pay for some courses. Go to a seminar. If you truly want to take this thing to the next level, invest in yourself. Same thing if you're like in school. You want to get that 4.0 GPA and you're struggling in math, invest in yourself. Go get a tutor. Go get after it. Because the journey is long and unforgiving, dog.
Yeah.
You are never good enough to continue at the level that you are. I promise you.
Amen to that one. Super amen to that one.
But yeah, y'all take it easy. Hopefully y'all learn something. Let us know if you have a topic you want us to talk about. And I just extended this so long. You already did your salute. This is kind of awkward. And I'll catch you guys later.